Today we will be talking about what is a man. Now, of course, this is all in my opinion and how I see the world, and so I'd really like to for you to take that into consideration whilst you're watching this, because I'm just one guy that's living his life, and I can only see it through my eyes. Now, of course, I would love to hear what you think of all of this down below. So if you do have any opinions you'd love to share with me, comment down below. And also, this is a live call that I did in my Built Daily community. And if you'd like to find out more information about that, the link will be below. And of course, I would love it if you could give this a like and, of course, subscribe if you haven't already. And today we will be discussing what is a man. Now, the reason I wanted to discuss this personally was because it is something that I think that is very hard to define because we all have our own interpretations of what that is. Now, with keeping that in mind, everything that we discuss today will be in my opinion and from my point of view. Of course, I can only see it in my eyes, and of course, this is my interpretation of how I see it. So everyone's experience is different. This is just how I see it, and my opinion is that I think it's we've moved away a lot from what might be considered a man, and it's become quite distorted and only amplified by the internet. So the internet is one of those double-edged swords. It's obviously an amazing tool, as well as a something that can get out of hand. And we've seen that with the different coloured pills that you see out there. There's the red pill, there's the black pill, there's all these different pills, and they talk about different things. I don't understand them and haven't invested a lot of time in researching them, and probably won't because it's not something that I think about personally. So, this is, of course, again, my opinion and how I see it and what I think. Now, today won't be a biology lesson. When you think of what is a man, I'm not talking in the sense of XY chromosomes, what you got in your pants, that type of thing. I'm talking more of a holistic point of view, maybe a bit more of a mindset and the way you conduct yourself. So, traditionally, I believe the man has been seen as the protector and the provider. So, protector, and both of these are indirect and direct. So, indirect is something that is done out of sight. What I think of with this is protecting the village, someone in the defense force, those types of things. They're very indirect. You may not see them, but they're still happening. And then, of course, directly is right in front of you. So, protecting someone, protecting your house, that type of thing, protecting your village, the front gate, that type of stuff. And the same with the provider. So, in the sense of like a farmer is doing it quite indirectly, they're growing their crops. You're not there necessarily to see it, but then there might be directly where you've got your own fruit garden and stuff like that. Those types of things. And that's how it's been for thousands of years. The men will protect and provide for their family, their village, their society, and so forth. And that's neither good nor bad. It's just what it is. And everyone has their role to play, and we all have our own strengths and weaknesses. And now, of course, people are going to say that, just because it's done traditionally, that people can do anything they want. And that is very true. I'm talking of like a more of a general sense. There's always going to be caveats and special circumstances. I'm talking more as a whole. That's how I like to think about it. And I am generalizing on purpose so that then it makes it clearer because, yes, I could get down into the weeds of it, but then it'll sort of dilute the message. So if we just sort of take a step back and we think about it in the sense of This, where it's very a high level, sort of protector, provider, indirect, direct, and then that can give us a little bit more information about that and hopefully make it a little bit easier to understand. Because again, this is all general. There is no hard and fast rules with any of this because everything is so fluid, right? What works today won't work tomorrow. And my opinions on this today are my opinions that I have now with the information I have, and they can change. I think that's something very important to understand. And we will talk about that later as well. How I see it, and this is how I see it. So it's obviously my opinion and my interpretation of it, is that a man is someone that is in control of their emotions. And what I mean by that is that we have emotions. It's unavoidable, and they are neither good nor bad. However, if we make a decision in an emotional state, it may not be the best decision. So, if you are in control of your emotions, you'll make better decisions. And this is something that I've dealt with personally quite a lot. To take it back to when I was younger, I was a very angry child, very angry. And, obviously on reflection, it's very easy to see why, but at the time it was a lot of misunderstanding. I didn't understand, people didn't understand me around them, and my default was anger. So I would lash out both verbally and physically, and it never resulted in what I expected to get from it. I'd always get in trouble, right? And I was never in control. And then I would get angrier that I wasn't in control and sort of spiral. And, since joining the Defense Force and figuring out that, anger is not going to solve things because there's always someone bigger and stronger than you. And no matter how angry you get, it's not going to always solve the situation. So I've worked a lot on myself since being, sort of 20 in my early 20s to now being 34. And I feel like I'm in pretty good control of my emotions. However, do I have it perfect? No, no. And that brings me to my next point of manning up. And what I mean by that is how I see a man is someone that takes accountability, because we're human, we're all human, and we're going to make mistakes. And it takes a lot of guts to be able to admit when you're wrong, because it's never nice, right? You think a certain way, you think I've got this is what I think, and this is going to happen, and it doesn't happen, right? And then you go, damn, I thought this was going to happen. And you have to accept that you made the wrong choice. And nobody wants to be wrong. I don't, and I'm probably sure you don't either. But it's about owning those mistakes. And that's very hard to do, I think, because it becomes quite personal. And, then you'll get the blame, and then you'll get automatically defensive of that. And then that comes back to those emotions. Can you control those emotions? Because people are going to come at you and, I can't believe this, I can't believe that, you made this decision, you're this, you're that. They're going to say all these terrible things to you, and it's going to definitely hurt. But if you can take that on and obviously go, okay, well, that was a mistake. I made that mistake. I've learned from that. I am going to do things differently next time. I think that is what makes a man, being able to accept those types of things, because that's hard, right? Like I said, it's hard. It takes guts, and nobody wants to be wrong. So that's something that I think is really important and probably not talked about a lot these days, because think about it when you're a kid. I know, especially for myself, I would never take accountability for what I did because I never wanted to get in trouble. I never wanted to be seen for doing the wrong thing. And because of that, I would just lie and say, it wasn't me, it wasn't me, it wasn't me. And, even though if there was evidence against, I would never sort of accept it. Now, it's definitely harder. Don't make the same decisions and don't act the way I was when I was younger. So I don't make those many mistakes, thankfully. However, I do make mistakes from time to time, and I have to own that. And it's hard. It's really hard. It's hard to say, yes, I made this decision, and at the time, it was the best decision that I thought. However, it didn't work out. I went left, I should have gone right. And you go, okay, that's my fault. Put my hand up. Hey, guys, that's me. That was on me. All right. And, you apologize and you accept and you learn from the situation and move on. You know, as long as it's obviously not a major mistake and things, people get hurt and those types of things, then it's all good. You can always learn from it. And it's okay to make mistakes. And that's how we learn. I think sometimes then the flip side of that is you never try anything because you don't want to get, you don't want to make mistakes, right? I've been there as well where you've gone down a certain path and you feel like you've hit heaps of roadblocks. So then you just 180 from that and you go, well, I'm not going to try anymore. And then because of that, it still doesn't work. And they, what's going on? I've tried really hard, but it's not working. What's going on? What a pain. So there's that sort of either or, and you can, and I've definitely fluctuated between that in my life, and generally it's emotional, and there are those moments where in there are those moments in my emotions where I will have to stop and go, okay, let's control ourselves, let's calm down, and let's have a think about it, because if I'm in the emotion, I'm going to be, stuff this, get rid of terrible, not get rid of it all and overreact. However, if I then slow down, take a breath, control my emotions, I can go, okay, what are the pros and cons? Where are we? And then we can figure out which is the best way to move forward. Because in those moments, if we act emotionally, that's when things can go wrong. And funnily enough, thinking about it, we were listening to a podcast, my wife and I were in the car on the way home today, and it was a true crime podcast, of course, and it was about a murder, and from that, they were telling someone about the murder, and he knew the person, and the first thing they did was they said they hid his keys because he was trying to find his keys, he was going to get in his car, he was going to speed off in emotion. And who knows what could have happened, right? He could have gotten his car, he could have driven, and he could have crashed. He could have hurt himself, could have hurt someone else, and it would have been because he wasn't in control in that moment. Now, am I saying that it is wrong to have emotions? Absolutely not. But it's about controlling yourself to be able to have those emotions in the proper way. By that, I mean not hurting yourself, not hurting anyone else, being in the moment, feeling those feelings, and then from there, moving forward. Now, of course, it's easier said than done. In the moment, it absolutely sucks. I've absolutely been there. And yeah, it's easy for me to sit here now in control and say, yeah, of course, but I've definitely done it. I've definitely made those mistakes and acted in emotion. So that's where it takes a lot of, willpower from us as men to man up, control our emotions, slow down, take a minute and then move forward, because that's how we're going to, keep going as a society. And I think that's something that we really need to focus on nowadays, because from what I've seen of the past, there was a lot of emotion and stuff like that, and people would act emotionally. So then wasn't always the best. So I think that's what I really want you to take away from this, is to be able to control your emotions and then take accountability for your actions. And that's where I want to end it there, team. And of course, if you do have any questions, definitely feel free to put them in the group. I'm always happy to answer them as much as possible. If you would like to keep it confidential and private, please message me directly and we can have a conversation offline where it's not in a public eye. But it is always good to have it in that community where then we can hopefully help each other, because again, I'm only looking at, this problem from one spot, and if we all come together, then we're all looking at it together and we're all going to see different things because we're all standing in a different spot and we're all looking at the same thing. And I'm here, you're there, and the three, and then we all look at that and we go, "Wow, okay." And then someone else says something, "Oh, wow, I didn't even think of that," because I've never been in that situation. I can't see what they're seeing. So that's how we're gonna, win together as a team. Thank you so much. And if you have any other questions, let me know.